So they got rid of Andrew's bones, but did they get rid of him as a person, as an icon?
No, but I think the whole nature of the relationship between Scotland and Andrew changed. He ceased to be a means of salvation, and he became more of a national emblem, a national symbol.
But before the Protestant Reformation began in Scotland, medieval Scottish barons recognised the power and political muscle St Andrew could give them as a national symbol, especially against England, their old enemy. On the outskirts of Edinburgh, the National Archives have two vital documents bearing Andrew's mark. Now, what does this seal show?
Well, this is a charter. This would normally be a royal charter issued by the king, but of course the identity of the king was a matter of dispute at that time. So the Guardians produced a seal which had on the rear the royal arms, and instead of having the king's face or a picture of the king on the front, they've looked for a national symbol, and the one they've lit on is St Andrew.
So what does that then tell us about how they understood Andrew at this point in time?
I think his endorsement is what they're looking for. I mean, he is referred to in the Declaration as the first apostle by calling. It's a very senior endorsement of your cause if you have Andrew on your side. And here we have the Declaration of Arbroath. It was sealed on the 6th of April in 1320. This is essentially a letter from the barons of Scotland to the Pope. And the fundamental thing that it says is really, can you get England off our backs? It starts off with the names of the people who have sealed it, and then it goes on to talk about the history of the Scots. We have the reference to St Andrew.
How are they using St Andrew in this document?
Well, they're invoking him as the patron saint.
And so St Andrew is used as part of this power play. He's the saint evoked to say that they mean business and that the Pope should take them seriously.
Yes. They were looking for everything that they could get that would give them respectability and say, look, we are the government of Scotland. We are a country in our own right. Please help us.
And does he score?
Although this document doesn't have the immediate effect that they hoped it had, it nevertheless was greatly respected because of how well written it was and so forth. So they were doing well, and I dare say St Andrew would certainly reap a lot of the credit for that.
How important is this document in Scottish history?
There is no educated Scot who has never heard of this.
Does the Pope have a copy?
The Pope was sent a copy, and we know that he received it. Unfortunately, although the records of the Vatican are amongst the best medieval records in Europe, his copy has disappeared.
So this is the only living copy available?
Yes. This is the one and only, yes.
So this must be priceless?
It is absolutely priceless. There's nothing you could really do to ensure it. If it went, nothing could bring it back.
One thing about Andrew that gives him staying power as a patron saint is his branding. His logo, a white cross on a blue background, makes up the national flag. So I've come to the only flag manufacturer in Scotland to find out its meaning. Ursula, can you tell me what is depicted on this flag?
Well, most Scots would say that what we have here is a representation of a vision seen by a Pictish king when he was facing his enemies and was being helped by St Andrew. And the vision was of a white cross on a blue sky, which was supposed to symbolise the particular cross on which St Andrew had died.
Now, how does that differ from the cross that Jesus died on?
Well, Jesus died on what we call a Latin cross, an upright cross. And in fact, it's very likely that that is how St Andrew died.
So when does this flag first come into circulation? Can we date it?
Let's say that at a certain point, and I think myself this was in the 12th century, it came to be believed for some reason that St Andrew did have a special cross, that he was put to death on an X-shaped cross. And we begin to get, from about 1150, examples of him shown in art and on seals and in various ways shown being crucified in such a way. Then we get the cross itself used on its own, coming to be a symbol for St Andrew and a symbol for Scotland. St Andrew becomes the patron saint of Scotland at the end of the 13th century, and we've got a sense here of the whole Scottish nation being given a particular saint, a particular patron.
So why has it had such staying power? Why has it remained such a potent symbol?
I think for most Scots who see this flag, it just means Scotland. I'm not saying that when Scots see this flag, they think necessarily of St Andrew, and they certainly don't think necessarily of his death on a cross of this kind.
So in a way, the image of St Andrew on the cross has disappeared, and it's now much more a potent symbol of Scottish national identity, Scottish culture.
I think you've got it right. I think so, yes.
The saltire is undoubtedly Scotland's best-known logo worldwide. But is that all Andrew, the disciple of Jesus, has become? A symbol on a flag? In 2004, St Andrew once again became embroiled in Scottish politics as MSP Dennis Canavan proposed a bill to make St Andrew's Day a national holiday.
A St Andrew's Day national holiday would enable Scots to recognise our patron saint. It would also enable us to celebrate our national identity and our membership of the international community.
But is the religious grounding of Andrew, the holy man, being sacrificed for national pride? Dennis, one thing that intrigues me about making St Andrew's a national holiday is that he's a Christian saint with a particular history of martyrdom, of sacrifice, of spreading the Christian gospel. So how do you retain that message within the multicultural, multi-faith environment that Scotland is?
There is, I think, a recognition that this man, who was just a simple fisherman and who was one of the first disciples to be called by Christ, has an international appeal. He certainly was a very courageous person. I mean, whether people believe in his Christian faith or otherwise, he literally died for his faith. I also think that the fact that he wasn't born and bred in Scotland maybe makes it easier for people who have come here as immigrants, for example. They may find it easier to identify with St Andrew.
Couldn't St Andrew's Day be used to educate people on the life of St Andrew, the values that he stood for, and devotion? Is this about religion or politics?
I think it's about both. St Andrew is a religious figure. He's a Christian saint. He was a very courageous person who responded positively to the call of Christ. But I think there is a political dimension to St Andrew's Day too, and the celebration thereof. Because in 21st century Scotland, we have people of different faiths, different cultures, different ethnic origins. And what we want is a degree of social and political unity whereby all of these people can see themselves as part of the Scottish people and celebrate Scotland's nationhood accordingly.
Are you a religious man yourself?
I go to church usually on Sundays. I wouldn't claim that I was a very religious person. I take the view that the church is for sinners as well as for saints, and that gives me some comfort.
I am grateful to the Parliamentary Bureau for the opportunity of introducing this debate. It therefore gives me great pleasure to move this motion.
Whether Dennis proves successful with his holiday proposal or not, as I came to the end of my journey to find the relevance of Andrew today, I couldn't help feeling that the disciple of Jesus, the man who knew the Messiah personally, has had much of his religious role stripped in order to survive as Scotland's patron saint. The story of a monk travelling to the ends of the earth with Andrew's bones may be fantastical legend, but it worked. Andrew's original link to Scotland may be tenuous, but it's undoubtedly as crucial and political as ever.